What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about Canadian patriotism. So, today, I want to take a look at this Reddit discussion where somebody said, it's never felt more Canadian to be Canadian than it does right now. So they say when Canada hosted the 2010 Olympics, author Douglas Coupland said something like this: it's never felt more Canadian to be Canadian than it does right now. And I feel that all over again in these times. So I really like this quote, actually. And I have to say, as an American, I'm exposed to American pride all the time. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure that's something that America is kind of known for, that can come across as a bit annoying sometimes or arrogant, and I get that. But with that being said, I don't really ever get to see Canadian pride. And this discussion got me really curious about that. So they go on to say, in that theme, what are some people, places, things, or experiences that to you are especially symbolic of Canada or unique to Canada? Going forward, what will you see, hear, feel, taste, or smell that will put a little patriotic boost in your step? So I just really wanted to take a look at some of the comments here in this Reddit discussion all about Canadian patriotism at a time like this. So let's take a look here. It says, nothing like a crisis to bring a country together. Yeah, I kind of chuckle at that because it's weird. It's weird for me as an American because I know the Canadians here are referencing America. Like the crisis is America. That's the crisis. That's weird. Yeah, and really unfortunate. But yeah, I've talked about a little bit in some videos I've done recently. Let's keep going here. It says, I have never felt so patriotic in my life. Is this true for a lot of Canadians out there? There's a lot of crazy stuff happening in the world right now. And is Canada kind of, I don't know, bonding over it, kind of banding together, unifying, feeling like pride? And I mean, I don't know. The only sort of comparison I can relate to in my life was maybe back at September 11th, 9/11 terrorist attacks in the United States, where something horrible happened to America. And out of that horrible act came this amazing sense of unity and American pride. And there was no more divisiveness anymore. We were all just banded together for one common cause. A horrible, horrible thing caused something for American patriotism that was kind of beautiful in the end. And I don't know if that kind of feeling is happening in Canada right now. They say, I suddenly get why Canada is the way it is in the time of war. I've done some videos on Canada in war. Canada's really scary. Like a lot of Americans don't know that, like how freaking scary Canadian soldiers and military really is when times get tough and, push comes to shove. But anyway, yeah. Not just for enlisting, but for digging in. I went out and about to get a flag yesterday, like a Canadian flag, and just the sense of pride everyone had. And then the stadium singing our national anthem. That was the first 9 minutes. What are we talking about here? What? The stadium singing our national anthem, like a hockey game? Or my God, I went to bed happy. Maybe this was the wasn't there was like a U.S. Canada nations hockey game recently? Is that what we're talking about? Maybe. So that Canadian actually went out and got a flag. Is that considered like over the top patriotic? Because I can relate that to the United States, you see American flags all the time, like not only on houses, but people will have an American flag on their pickup truck, like flying on the back of their car, like driving around town. That's a bit over the top, depending on where you live in the United States. Yeah. But in Canada, do you have that? Do you are there Canadian flags just normally hanging from people's houses or in their front yard, or is that considered normal? Is that like, oh, that person really loves Canada? Like, I'm trying to get a sense of what that means, because in America it's like you don't even bat an eye if there's like an American flag and somebody like on someone's house or car or something. You're just like, okay, yeah, that's just a normal person. I think Canadians are committed to self realization rather than money for money's sake. And that is something that makes us very different from Americans. Canadians are committed to self realization rather than money. Self realization? Like realizing the greatest version of yourself? Like Canada is committed to just becoming the best Canada that Canada can be? That's fantastic. That should be the goal of any nation. And rather than money, yeah, I mean, if you're asking what drives the American economy and the average American, it's money. That's definitely true. But if we're being honest, like, isn't that kind of what drives everybody in a sense? Besides, personal achievement and getting better is a huge motivating factor, but you gotta eat too. And yeah, our food bills are expensive. I see that in Canadian celebrities like Jim Carrey and Keanu Reeves. Right. Jim Carrey said before he took a mini retirement, I have enough. I've done enough. I am enough. I actually know what they're talking about. I've seen like Jim Carrey. He's like grown a big old crazy beard and just does Sonic the Hedgehog movies now. And he like paints. He's just like, I've done it. Like, what did I saw an interview where he was reminiscing on his past career, and he was saying, like he doesn't act very like crazy and wacky and funny anymore. He's very like just normal, almost like seems depressed. Maybe it's just because we're used to seeing Jim Carrey be crazy and this goofball, and now he's just normal, not depressed, but normal. But in comparison to what he was. And he said in his past, he played a guy who was free of concern so that people watching him could be free of concern. And I was like, wow, Jim Carrey is really deep. Holy cow. He gave me a good childhood. But yeah, he's like not concerned about, well, the thing is, he's like filthy rich now, right? So of course he's like, I've had enough. I've done enough. Keanu Reeves has always been like this amazing philanthropist, like giving money to the cast and of his movies and like just walking down the street like a normal guy getting a bagel. And they're both Canadian, huh? And it's not coincidence, I think, actually. I think that attitude is shown by Reeves giving up his salary. Yeah. So this is all based on this fact of Canadians are more committed to self-realization than money. Is that Canadians out there, do you think that's true? It's tough to, like, if we're being very honest, it is difficult to live in this modern world and not be focused on making money because everything is so expensive and it's like tough to get by. So if you have the time or the devotion to just working on your self-realization, maybe at the same time making money in whatever it is you do, that's fantastic. I think most Americans are just caught up in our like hustle culture. Like, you gotta be the best. You gotta beat him. You gotta lie, cheat, and steal to rise to the top. Yeah, it's definitely more of that attitude. I think most Canadians basically want a comfortable life and to do well in what they want in life, and they don't fixate on money. Now, I know these comments, these are Canadians commenting, but they don't speak for all Canadians. So if you agree with this, if you disagree with this, feel free to leave a comment with your own opinion. Whereas Americans have more of an insatiable need for money. Yeah, and screw everybody else. And that attitude is a cancer on the world. Wow. Harsh words, but maybe words that need to be heard from us Americans? Definitely. America has had so much success. I think we're a victim of that success, where we, like, a lot of Americans really do think we're the best, and it doesn't matter, like, whatever we do, that's the right way. If we're going to throw down tariffs on everyone, well, gosh darn it, that we get to do that. And it's like, no, there's repercussions for your actions. And okay, let's keep going here. This is good stuff. Canadian patriotism. Being Canadian is not being American. Okay, I mean, true, but I've heard a lot of stuff like Canadians don't like being defined in terms of America. Like, this is a terrible way to define Canada, right? Canada is more than just not America. Canada is its own country with its own culture and its own history and its own beauty. So I don't know if I agree. Like, being Canadian is not being American. Sure, yes, but that's not what defines Canada. Like, I think most Canadians wouldn't define yourselves as what does it mean to you to be Canadian? Well, I'm not American. It's like, okay, but that I think you're a lot more than that. Like, yeah, but I think they're just responding to the news of, the current news and events and stuff that's happening, the relationship between Canada and America right now. I think that's more where this comment is coming from, actually. So I get it. I get it. Always has been. Jeez. It gives you a warm metric feeling inside. Okay. Yeah. Metric. Who knows what that is? I hope that Canada, South America, Europe, I hope everyone boycotts the Los Angeles Olympics in 2028. It would be a profound show of solidarity. Jeez. I hope not. I mean, as I've said with a lot of the Canadian boycotting America stuff, I get it. I totally get it. You can't even be that mad at it as an American. You can't. But that's in 2028. That's like 3 years from now. God, I hope things are better by 2028. I mean, if this is just the beginning, this is just the beginning of the show in 2025, right? Trump was just came into office, so we'll see, won't we? But the Olympics has always been kind of like a sacred event with all the nations like putting aside their differences. It would just be better for Canada to like defeat America in a gold medal match. That would be entertaining revenge rather than just boycotting the Olympics. But I get it, solidarity. It would be a profound show. Like I get it. I get it. That would suck for the athletes. Yeah, who have trained hard. Seriously, that would suck for the Canadian athletes who don't get to participate. So I don't know about that. I'm sad and proud to say that I think things like women in leadership positions is going to feel like a very Canadian thing in the near future. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that much about Canadian politics and all that stuff, but yeah. It's going to be interesting to see what the future of the American government looks like, and Canada's having some big changes coming up with like Trudeau stepping down and all this stuff. Last time I felt connected with everyone was the 2019 when the Raptors won. 2019 Raptors, is that? I'm showing my ignorance here. Is that basketball? I think. The energy in Toronto and the country was electric during that time. What? So, this is about Canadian patriotism, this video. So that's the last time Canada felt this kind of unity was when the Raptors won in 2019. It's the Raptors winning and then America trying to put tariffs on Canada. That's what really gets Canadians going. Okay. In 1972, I was 10 years old. I lived and breathed hockey. Something called the Summit Series was announced where a team of Canadians would play a team of Russians. This was prime Cold War time. It was supposed to be a cultural or diplomatic event. No Canadian thought any country in the world would hold a candle to Canada in hockey. Come September, the first game, what's happening? By the time they played their fourth game, Canadian fans were booing Canadian player. What is all this? The Summit Series, that sounds familiar. I don't think I've learned about the Summit Series, really. Maybe I should. Canada versus Russia? A Cold War? Game 8. Canada has to win or communism wins. Wow. That sounds kind of familiar. I have to learn more about that. That would, holy cow, talk about peak Canadian patriotism at a time like that. You're defeating communism with hockey, for God's sake. There's a better definition of what being Canadian is. Canada is a civic nation, not an ethnic one, where anyone who upholds democratic enlightenment principles can be a part of it. Regardless of race, religion, cultural background, of course, Canada still has far to go and many more injustices to correct. Building a stronger social democracy remains the best path to doing so. Well said. Very sort of political answer, like a politician would give that or something. But that doesn't make it any less true. Canada is the continued search for a just society. That kind of goes back to that earlier comment at the beginning. How did they put it? Canada is like not searching for money, but self-realization. Kind of self-realization thing. A lot of Canadians commenting in this discussion are talking about how one of the things they're most prideful about Canada is an acknowledgement that it's not perfect, but it's always trying to get better. And man, that's beautiful in my opinion. That is there anything else here you want to Slava Kennedy? What does that mean? Trump uniting Canada. No kidding. Jeez. Canada played a major role in liberating the Netherlands in World War II. Wow. Yeah, so people are kind of listing some of the big moments in Canadian history, kind of like I was talking about 9/11 in America. It's cool to hear about these times in Canadian history where Canadians felt the most patriotic, the most united under some kind of cause. Yeah, that's really cool to hear about. Canadians help others. Americans only help themselves. Harsh criticism, but some truth to that. Flag Day with beautiful maple leaf flags. Checking everything at the store as to not buy American. I did a video recently about Canadians boycotting America. Yeah. Yeah, it's really, really, like I've said, it's so sad as an American to see. It's sad for me to see that the reason Canadians feel so Canadian, united, and so proud of Canada is that Canada is uniting against America. That's very bittersweet to me, indeed. But it was really kind of touching and beautiful and interesting for me to check out this discussion today to see what Canadians are kind of thinking and feeling and why Canadian patriotism might be at an all-time high right now. So this was really cool to hear about. Anyway, if you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment. If you're Canadian, please feel free to leave a comment over what you think about being Canadian right now and what that means. And if you feel like a big sense of Canadian pride and unity right now in particular, because as an American living in the United States, there's no way for me to like get a sense of what Canadians are feeling, you know, except by checking out the YouTube comments and all that. So that'd be awesome. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Canada and learning about Canadian culture, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.